Hey guys, I'm the part entry screen. I've made a small customization over here. I have a grid that has a selector. This grid gets data from the UDO1 table, and there's also a text box over here. I can enter any content into the text box over here. Make a selection in the grid for the rows that need to get updated with the text that is entered here. And then I can click this tool. You'll observe that character O2 in this grid got updated with stuff that was entered over here, and then you can also save it to the server with another event. So how did I go about creating this use case? So I'll close the preview, open up App Studio. Step number one, go and create your view in the Kinetic app, UDO1. It's a iSchema view. Step number two, go and create an event that gets data into the view. So I've written event over here that's called after get by ID. It's a REST ERP event for UDO1 get rows. It will send the part number to UDO1. It will get the server response, and the server response would be added to the view UDO1 that's in the Kinetic app. Step number three, go and set up your layout. So I got the panel card grid, and on the panel card grid, I updated the EP binding in the grid model for UDO1 because now this view already has data when the screen loads. I added my columns over here. So the first important step in the columns is I added a column for the selector, the first one that you see, the checkbox. That's like a fake column that I've created in the Kinetic app. I just called it the field is selector. This column does not actually exist in the view UDO1. It's a fake line side column that I've created. I marked the editor type as a boolean over here from the drop down. Okay, because it's a boolean, it will show up as a checkbox. The other columns are actually physical columns: key one, character O1, character O2. Okay, so character O2 is the one that I'm actually updating. And then I got this panel card. I got this text box over here. I mm, gave it a binding for the trans view new field one. So this is again, a purely a client side view, a client side column. So once this setup was done, then I set up these tools over here. And then on the click of this tool, you may recollect that content in the grid got updated. So how did I go about that? So I created um, an event for tool click update character. So it has the hook for the tool click. The event action type is data view condition. So that is basically the heart of the exercise. Okay. The data view condition event action. In this, I went and set up the parameters. So what are the parameters? It will go and so the data view is UDO1. That's the same view that we had on the grid. It's evaluating an expression. The expression is that UDO1.selector is equal to true. That means that in the grid, whatever rows were marked in using the selector, it's going and basically searching for those. And once it finds the records, it will basically go and execute another event in a iterative manner. Okay, I'll come back to basically what this iterative event is, but you will see that I also have another property over here for matches, for results, and I've entered the value as matches. Uh, so what the result property does is that when the event gets executed, it will create a temporary view in the Kinetic app, and the iterative event that we are going to be running, that will basically first update the columns in the temporary view that was created on client side. Okay, so also, what happens is that when this event gets executed, the temporary view will be created, and that will have only those rows that meet this criteria over here that is set up in the expression. So if you select one row in your grid, this temporary view would have one row. If you select three rows, then the temporary view will have those three rows that you that you had selected using the selector in the grid. Okay. Now I'll come to the next part, that is about the iterative event. And it's been named as iterate character 02. So that's another event that is created. That is relatively a simpler event. That's only a row update. And what this row update is doing is, um, I've said in the view for matches, go and update the column for character 02 with the value of transview.new field 1. Okay. So it means that whenever this event gets executed, it will go and update the value from the text box, because the text box is bind to this view. And because it's been set up as a iterative view on the data view condition action, for for each row in this view, it will go and run this event and perform the row update. Okay. And what I had also done is I had set up a row rule for disabling the remaining columns in the grid. So what I've done is I have the action data view as UDO1, no condition, so that it's always firing. It's going and disabling all the columns except the column for the selector. That's the first column that I'm disabling. This is optional step. You may want to do it this way, you may not want to do it this way. So that's the way the app was set up from application studio. I'll go and preview it again, and this time I'll also open up the console to show you the iterative event that is running. So let me choose another part, 001 MP. So it's making the server call. It got records from UDO1. I'm opening up my DevTools. Okay. So my DevTools is there. I'll clear this up so that it's easier to read. I'll enter some value over here and I'll select the rows in the grid that need to get updated. Okay. So those are the two selections I've made. I'll click update, and you'll notice what happened over here is that on click of this tool, oops, I collapsed it. On click of the tool, it executed the data view condition event action, and then and after that you'll see that it actually ran two events in iteration. So it's reading iteration 0 and iteration 1 because there are two rows that it found. So it's running two iterations. And for each row in the view, that is a temporary view for matches, it's basically going and um, updating the row with the value that is there in the text box. And then what I've also done is that I have a update event that is set up with this button click over here. This one's actually going and updating the UDO1 view on the server so that the data that we update in the Kinetic app also gets saved on the server. So that is my short demo. Thank you very much.